Gates Pizza. I mean, Great Gates Ribs, though, because they still around.
Right. I might be able to hook you up on that, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Send me some of Gates. I know it's good. I
Right.
have family
Okay.
down there. I have my
Uh
daughter
huh.
that lives there.
Yes.
So anyway,
Okay.
so
Well,
but
out the.
again, some of the things we do, they really don't even know who you are. I don't understand how you was able to be pointed out because you really all you send
Yeah.
everything out to them. Did you have to go to the Secretary of State to have them put their stamp on
Well,
there?
I'll tell you what they did to me. They I had to my authentication with the Secretary of State had to go through 3 times. Each time they would forget something. Uh and of course they wasn't forgetting it. They were just not doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
when I sent it to Washington, they sent it back to me saying, you need to have the Secretary of State of Missouri supply the seal, the something, the something. They were purposely leaving this information off so that it would delay my process.
Wow.
Because they know you.
Yes,
They
and I
know
have the
you
letters.
really know.
Right,
Missouri,
and but then again I did because Myron had kind of prepared me in my head, but I was just trying to go so fast. I was just like, I'm gonna get it done. And then when they sent the correction letter from the United States Secretary of State, I was like, I knew that was missing. Why didn't I say something? And then about the second time, I was like, okay, they just messing with me because they really just don't want to do this.
oh no.
And I have all the proof of all of that.
I remember in Missouri, I was stationed in Whiteman Air Force Base, about 60 miles away from you all. And there was this governor that's going to run, and he was going to be a revolutionary type of governor there. And he was flying to a campaign in a brand new plane, and it crashed.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
a brand new plane,
Yes.
and he was going to change the rules. I can't remember the name, but I'm like, this is
Mhm.
Missouri.
And then I think his wife took over the candidacy, and I think she won. But
Oh,
I forget
good.
who it was too. But yeah,
Yeah.
they are like that. That
Yeah.
look, from my understanding, they was the last ones to free the slaves. So they are not trying to give up.
And
They
it's
little
weird because
stuff.
Kansas City is like the gateway between East and West. Because Highway 70
Shoot.
goes East and West. That's because
Yeah,
I remember.
more St. Louis. Yeah,
What
St.
was
Louis
that?
is called the Gateway.
Yeah. St. Louis
Yeah, but they
is on the bad side, but Kansas City is like in the middle between East and
mhm.
West. It's like the one in the
But
middle.
if you really think about it, uh, to me anyway, the way I see it is, uh, Myron. We like I said, we talked about this before. I'm also a veteran, so
Oh,
I think it
you
goes.
definitely have to you definitely have to go get a certified copy of your DD 214 because if you look in there, it will say certificate. And I am
I
about to
have my
deposit.
DD 214. I have my
Is it
original DD 214.
okay? Well, I think original. You don't want to really give the original. You may want to get an authenticated one anyway. But just think
Mhm.
about it. If they won't allow dental or any other thing. But if you take that certificate and deposit it back into the I'm not sure whether we need to do it at the VA with the dental section or either at the DOD, Department of Defense, where you're turning that certificate in and using it for money. It's on bond. It's bond. It's a bonded
Mhm.
document for money to
Mhm.
have it deposit in there and say anything I want done medically, take it out of that certificate. Think of it
Mhm.
along.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Didn't
mean,
And
they
Pastor
just.
Divine do that? Didn't he
yes,
pay for his hotel room and floor and everything?
he had a whole floor in a hospital. He had a whole floor to himself. He just charged over $68,000. He did. He didn't really have. I
Mhm.
mean, he could walk in and get
Mhm.
anything done and never had to make a payment because they took it. He deposited his DD 214, and he said he gave it to the cashier. So I'm not sure
Huh.
if that. That's the person. He said he gave it to his cashier. Who gets it? If your cashier, CC it to the head of the VA, CC it to the DOD, give them copies of it. I want to be able to have services because I need some dental work. So I want to be able to have whatever I want, and you take it from these certificates because we're still supposed to be in the military. You and I took an oath to become. Well, did we take one when we got out to get back into the United States citizenship?
No, they tried to sign us up with some more stuff. Don't you want to be in the reserves? Don't you want to do it? I was like, oh, God, no.
And that is something that Bob Rob Ryder, he was trying to work on it. I don't think he finished it. But we are still members. Even though we're inactive, we are still part of the military. We took an oath, and we never unoathed ourselves. So actually, that's something you could probably tell the court or whatever. Excuse me, if police stop me, you can't take me to jail. You have to take me to the base so I can get, where the court-martial court, wherever court that they have for military people, because I'm not under their jurisdiction. I mean, seriously, but I can't find that oath for when I went in '72. I can't find that oath. I want to find that oath so I know exactly. I can show them exactly what I said. So that may be something you want to do research on your own self.
I wish I could find all those papers that we signed. I signed stacks and stacks of papers and didn't read none of it.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do.
At the time I didn't know either. But that I'm just saying for you and your family, infinite amount of medical. There's nothing that automatically won't be done for them because you surrendered the certificate of title. And you're saying, I want you to take this bond and pay my medical bills. Well, I don't care. You can give it to me, and I just want to send it to you, and it gets paid off. So show me a zero balance.
Yeah, okay? I really don't trust them, but life goes on. Okay, y'all.
Okay,
thank you so much. Y'all have a good evening.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
And be careful with going down Truth Street because it's getting snowy and icy, and there's the slippery hills.
Okay, Mr. Rice, thank you. We appreciate the information. I learned something about my title today. Very good information.
Yeah, we got a lot of titles. We get a lot of certificates, and we're not using them. And I mean, graduation certificates, all that stuff, it's got money. They're making money off of us, even though we're not going to school anymore.
Wow.
All right.
So everything they give us, it's money onto it. Every certificate, license, title, all of that has funds associated with it.
They're making money off of it on the surety side of it. Why can't we make money off of the certificate? I'm just saying we can make money off of the certificates or be able to use it to pay off our debts. And in the meanwhile, they have surety bonds which we could terminate, liquidate it if we don't want to use them anymore.
Okay.
Okay,
all right,
very good.
Right. Thank you as always. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Look forward to next week. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Okay, everyone. Okay. Join me tomorrow. I'll be on at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Dr. Robert X.
Let's start with hope. I threw it in the middle like a skipping stone. The ripples one, son of a gun. Some would not have thought so, but I stand here, Commander-in-Chief, and I take that seriously. But along the way, a rogue ripple turned tidal wave. Reaction to what I tried to do, a rebirth of a nation's hatred. Red, white, and blue is black in there too. Seriously, one man rewriting the book on bad behavior. Maybe cheats the neighbors, feels he gets what they pay for weekend. Pat him on the back and send him on through. No No man's ignorance will ever be his virtue. Is this the best we can be? Seriously. Let's talk of fear and why I don't bring it in here. It's a dangerous word, spooks the herd, and we all bleed in the stampede. Fear makes a false friend indeed, and I take it seriously. Oh, hear me now, for the truth gets drowned out by a demigod flexing, a demigod flexing. He's history repeating. Angry, am I angry? You ask, am I angry? And I had a loss for words. After all we've done, every battle hard won, every hair gone gray, in the name of this place, in a history place, with incredible mistakes, and I pledge my allegiance to these united, divided states. Let's end with why. It's a question I wanna ask of us as a populace. Why not take our time, all the weight of this story seriously?
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad.
Woo! Go Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each.
Give me a $1.89 ham and jack slider.
$1.89 ham and jack slider!
Give me a $1.89 Italian spice slider.
$1.89 Italian spice slider!
What's that spell?
Doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. Go Sliders!
Customization for flavored cheese and sauce at participating shops plus tax. Price higher on delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
It's decorating with Dunkin'.
Hey, your desk looks great. Really festive with all the decorations.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this Dunkin' Peppermint Mocha Latte gave me a little pick-me-up, and I decided to go for it.
Whoa, you even lined your desk drawers with musical lights?
Yep, and look what's inside. A Dunkin' Gingerbread S'mores Latte for you.
Get Holiday Inn at Dunkin' with a $2 medium latte, cappuccino, or Americano from 2 to 6 p.m. The holidays run on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
So guys, how many of you are guilty of using your wife or your girlfriend's shampoo in the shower? Quite a few, I imagine. Have you considered the importance of using a product designed for your hair? Yes, men's hair. After all, your hair is different. Dove Men Plus Care has created a hair care range designed to fortify men's hair and give it the care it needs to stay strong and healthy. Do your family and your hair a favor and get your own products. Dove Men Plus Care for stronger, more resilient hair. Available at Walmart.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.08%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 1.25% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Go through more on how corporations use cash value life insurance with better audio this time. So we're going to look at exactly how companies use these policies, which is high cash value insurance. That banking concept, the same thing that individuals can do. Just seeing that corporate model, what the 1%, these big companies do from their side will help you see, okay, here's what they're doing, how do I copy it, right? That's what I want to do. I want to mimic the people that have money. What are they doing with their money? So if we take a corporation they're going to take out life insurance policies. They can take them out on anyone. Here we're going to look at just their executives. It's typically on their higher level executives or employees. So we've got a CEO, CFO, COO. The company we've got here is the owner of the life insurance policies. So they have complete control over everything. So in the CEO, we'll say a premium payment, let's use $100,000 a year. Sometimes it's much more. All right, so if they pay $100,000 a year, it can be on each executive here, it doesn't really matter. The company is going to make that premium contribution. The company owns the policy. The company will have cash value positioned as an asset on their balance sheet, right? So the company can use the money however they want. They can use that cash value for the banking concept, borrowing and repaying. Maybe they're going to expand their business, whatever it might be. It's their money. The owner has absolute control. There is also a death benefit on each of the insureds. So let's say on the CEO, let's say it's $10 million. Right? And this can be $1 million, it can be $50 million. The beneficiary of that policy is, guess who? The company. So you immediately get key man insurance, meaning if anything happens to Mr. CEO or any of the insureds, that death benefit flows back to the company. So they make the premium payment. It is not tax deductible, but it is liquid all the way through. That cash value is going to yield, what we always mention, anywhere between 4 to 6% high yield savings asset, tax-free all the way through, exactly what we want. Now, here's the catch, right? If I own a company and you're my employee, Cheyenne, right? She's my CFO. As the company, I say to my CFO, Cheyenne, if you stay with me until age 65, until 20 years, I, the company, create whatever type of vesting schedule I want. Right? This is not up to the insurance company or the policy. This is in the company's control. Let's just say age 65. Right? If you stay with me for the rest of your working years, once you retire at age 65, I'm going to pay you a retirement benefit. Call it a pension. Right? And I can say that's going to be any amount per year. And this is in addition to your 401ks, any other kind of income. Let's say it's another $100,000 per year. Right? From 65 to 85 until the day you die. Right? So you're going to get that juicy pension once you're retired. But here's the catch. If you decide that you're not going to stay at my company until 65, you decide to go start your own business, for whatever reason you leave, what happens is that retirement benefit goes out the window. So it creates those golden handcuffs where you feel, okay, I can't leave, because if I do, I have to walk away from this benefit. And the closer you get to retirement, the harder it is to leave. And then these plans are always set up where the former executive, the retired executive, is going to receive this income payout, but we're always designing them where a death benefit is still paid out to recover all the income payouts to that retired executive, meaning the death benefit is going to flow back to the corporation because they're the owner and the beneficiary. Quick side note I forgot to mention is that $100,000 that I pay the retired executive is tax deductible to the company as a compensation expense. So I cannot deduct the premium payments, but as I compensate the retired executive, whether it comes from the life insurance, wherever it comes from, that is a compensation expense. Right? So I can write that off, and since I'm pulling it from my cash values, that is not impacting my cash flow, right? Whatever my business is, I'm driving returns, I'm driving in money. It's not coming from the cash values of the life insurance policy. So let's illustrate an example here. Let's give a quick tip actually, right? Because we hear so much about this, bank-owned life insurance, which really started to take stride in the 1980s. An interesting statistic is when you look at bank-owned life insurance and policies that are on executives, the payout, this means money that when these executives die, most of them are retired now, but when they die, this is going to flow back to the banks. Right, so this has been the long-term play for banks, right? They've been positioning their dollars there as a tier 1 asset, goes nowhere but up. But when these executives eventually die, that's $400 billion, that number's increased, that's due to come back to banks. And guess what? What do the taxes look like on that? Tax-free, man. That's a huge number, $400 billion flowing back, right? So that's always been the long-term play with these insurance contracts. Let's look at some visuals here. So what we're going to look at, we've got a big funding number here, right? We're going to look at a 50-year-old male. We're going to see contributions of $500,000 a year paid into an account for a period of 10 years. Right now we can chop a 0 off or 2, we can add 1. The ratios are always the same. Why we use such a large dollar figure here is we did use a policy, it's a high early cash value account that's very cash rich from day one. In fact, you can see this here, where we pay in $500,000 the first year, and right off the bat, if you look at the percentage there, right, that's over 96%. For 50-year-old male plus an immediate $12 million death benefit. If anything happens to him, that's a huge death benefit that's going to flow back to the company. Right? So these accounts designed for corporations are often very cash rich up front. We're piling money into cash from day one, so we have access to it from day one. And this is money, again, because the company does what? They own it. They have access to that. It doesn't have to just sit in the balance sheet and do nothing. Let's continue on here. A little sloppy over there, that's all right. I don't know what's going on there, but that's okay. So as he pays into it, right, 10 years in, simple, we paid in $5 million. There's our cash. Insurance amount is huge. And then we've just got the basic returns here year over year. Let's get this out of the way. There we go. Right, so year over year, 5.5% tax-free. There are my cumulative returns factoring in the negative years. Again, we always mention between 4 and 6%. That's what to expect with these accounts. We see whether it's a corporate design plan or an individual plan where we're designing for someone. These returns don't differ that much. So the returns are great here. What we want to look at though next is how do we actually use this? Look at sheet 2 here, which is going to display the same exact policy. We took off the returns. That's why we had the last sheet, because we don't need them in this one. But we're going to do the same thing we would do for an individual. Compare my account where I pay in $500,000 a year for 10 years. There's my growth. Compare that to how the model would actually work. Right? So this is the company's plan here. Right? Keep that in mind. Let's just do it this way. Here's our payments. Here is our cash value. Break-even point just about year 3. Bullet points, company owns the policy, company pays the premium. Company controls and has access to the cash value. The life insurance goes on the executive at the company, has to go on an actual human being. Right? And the company, here's what we're going to look at next, pays the retirement benefit to the retired executive if he or she meets the vesting requirements. That's what the company is going to require. Right? Then you get that added benefit. And the company is also the beneficiary. Right? So here we've got our payments. They could keep paying in if they want. They let it stew for a little bit. And here's what we've got. We can make this income pay out whatever we want. We just plugged it here from age 65 to 85. The company starts pulling out $400K a year. and paying that to the executive. Right? They pulled out about $3 million more than what they paid in. Now, that's all well and good. One thing you noticed here that's likely different from what you're used to, or what you're used to seeing from us, from the banking concept and income scenarios, is this cash is still at a healthy level. Right? And why that is we're making sure the death benefit remains at a healthy level. Also, the cash value is accessible all the way through. I love this board. All right, there we go. So yeah, they're paying him income, but at the same time, if they need to access more cash, they've got access to that cash. That's theirs. When he eventually dies, let's say it's at age 90, guess what? There's $10 million of life insurance that's going to come back to the company 100% tax-free. So $400,000 per year was paid out. If we tally up the payments, it was about $8 million. That's what the executive received. Company still had access to that cash. He dies, company receives this, income tax-free. That $8 million they paid him was also tax deductible. Right, so you see all these benefits. That is just a basic overview of how income is actually provided to these retired executives. And again, company controls everything. The last thing we want to touch on here is the same income scenario, but we're going to look at loans, right? So when these policies are set up often, people think, okay, long-term play is to take income from the account. That's great. Here we're going to look at, all right, I've got my income down the road. We'll look at that in a minute. It's exactly the same. But the whole idea of the banking concept, right? I don't care if I'm an individual or a company. I'm going to leverage this as a line of credit. So here, I pull out $2 million. Maybe it's to expand my business, put up another building. Cash value is what? Line of credit. When I pull out $2 million, there's my death benefit collateralized, just like the individual models we look at. Continues to make that $500,000 a year contribution. And here we are going to repay the loan at $300K a year. Now, just like we would do for an individual, when it comes to paying back loans, you can do it however you want. You don't even have to. In fact, the income scenario that we'll look at, same as the last one, we don't have to pay it back. Or when we're pulling out income, loans are coming out too, which are withdrawals and loans. We're just not paying anything back there. So the main point here is when it is repaid, we see our cash value restored. And then we start peeling out income, $400,000 a year, just like the last scenario. So how companies do this is the exact same way we model this for individuals, just often larger dollar figures, and they're also using it as a retention strategy for their executives. Hope this helps.
Because women's bodies change over time, it's important to choose the right OBGYN. You want a doctor who really knows you and gives you the care you need as a young woman, an expectant mother, and as you age. That's what you'll find at UF Health Women's Specialists North, the latest technology combined with a comforting, personal approach. UF Health Women's Specialists North. For an appointment, call 904-383-1000.
How many guys out there have been using their wife or girlfriend shampoo? Your hair is different, so do them and your hair a favor. Get your own. Dove Men Plus Care has created a range designed to give your hair the care it needs to stay strong and more resilient. Available at Walmart.
Geico presents, not again, another voicemail from your roommate.
Hey, man, so I was in a rush to get to work and I left the back door open. Could you shut it? I left it wide open. While you're there, could you also turn off the oven? And all of the burners. My mom never let me use the oven. I wonder why.
The Geico Insurance Agency could help keep your personal property protected, like if it's your roommate's first time operating an oven. Visit Geico.com to see how easy it is to switch and save on renter's insurance.
Don't miss this huge day after deal at Old Navy. Thursday only, get 50% off all jeans for the whole family. That's right, 50% off all jeans, even your favorite rock star jeans. Hurry, it's Thursday only at Old Navy and OldNavy.com. Valid 12/26, excludes in-store clearance.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.08%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 1.25% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Lecture 5. Local Currencies and Non-Standard Banks.
In the last lecture, we learned that money and financial arrangements in the United States were hotly contested in the political arena during the entire 19th century. Would money be gold or paper? Would money be gold or silver? Part of the debate centered on whether the federal government had the right, under the U.S. Constitution, to create a central bank and to issue paper money. What we will learn today is that the institution of money is so important to economic welfare that citizens sometimes take the matter into their own hands. Today's lecture covers two sets of related ideas. Both sets help us to understand and appreciate how financial arrangements, including money, are important to the economic welfare of individuals. They also underscore the idea that money in particular and financial arrangements in general are cooperative arrangements, social contracts, as I have suggested before. Let's start with a story. During the Great Depression, a village in Austria initiated a controversial financial arrangement in the hope that it would provide a solution to some of the economic woes being experienced both by the village itself and by most of its citizens. The town was Virgil, and the man who came up with the idea was, and this is a mouthful, Michael Unterguggenberger, the city manager. Like most of the world, Virgil was experiencing high unemployment, greatly reduced tax revenues, and deteriorating public facilities such as roads. Virgil created 32,000 Austrian shillings worth of a new local currency that it called labor certificates, and used them to hire workers for public projects. The town also paid employed civil servants some portion of their salaries with the labor certificates. The labor certificates depreciated at the rate of 1% per month to give the holders of those certificates an incentive to spend them and stimulate the local economy. Workers who otherwise would not have worked received the labor certificates and spent them with local businesses. Those businesses, which otherwise would not have sold goods, accepted the certificates, made sales, and were able in turn to buy other local goods and paid taxes with the certificates. Before issuing the currency, Virgil negotiated with its civil servants to accept some of their payment in labor certificates. Of course, newly hired workers understood in advance that they would be paid in these certificates. Various shopkeepers participated in the agreement because they understood that it would stimulate business. Virgil also agreed to convert the labor certificates to official Austrian shillings, but at a 2% discount. And they kept a deposit of real Austrian shillings in a local bank for just that purpose. The experiment ended when outside authorities, including the Austrian State Bank, opposed it. The entire experiment lasted about 1.5 years. In a final report, the city manager documented that tax and fee revenues increased substantially in Virgil as the result of improved economic activity, and that many worthwhile public works projects were completed. No inflation occurred. Ironically, some of the labor certificates never found their way back to Virgil, but were kept as souvenirs, which was another benefit to the local community. By issuing labor certificates, Virgil was able to coordinate improved economic activity. To assuage concerns about acceptance of the certificates, Virgil provided for a conversion of the labor certificates into Austrian shillings and agreed to accept them in payment of taxes. During the Great Depression, Virgil and its citizens used a local currency to create mutually advantageous exchanges that would not otherwise have occurred. Well, the city wanted work done on public projects, but had no tax revenues. City workers were willing to work and wanted to buy goods with their earnings, but they had no earnings. City shops wanted to sell goods and were willing to pay their taxes with the currency. But none of these decision makers had the official Austrian shillings that would permit them to initiate what I call a cascade of activities. So, Virgil created a local currency that permitted local decision makers to coordinate their activities and permitted that cascade of activities to begin. The Virgil experiment underscores that money is a social contract and helps us appreciate the importance of financial arrangements for the functioning of an economy, and it helps us to understand the difference between successful and unsuccessful financial institutions. Let's take a look at a few more examples of local currencies. They're very, very interesting, but they also can teach us quite a bit. This is one of my favorite stories about an event that actually did take place. During World War II, prisoners in Stalag 7A, which was located in Moosburg in Bavaria, established an elaborate trading system in which cigarettes were used as money. Now, the camp contained about 50,000 prisoners of many different nationalities and, of course, then, many different tastes. Red Cross parcels provided a somewhat regular supply both of cigarettes and of foodstuffs to the prisoners in the camp. Very, very quickly, prisoners began to use cigarettes as money. Now, non-smokers were always willing to trade coffee, tea, and other foods for cigarettes, knowing that they could use those cigarettes to buy goods and services they preferred. That bears emphasis here. Non-smokers accepted cigarettes, even though they didn't intend to smoke them, because they knew that they could use them in turn to buy what they wanted. So an advantage of the choice of cigarettes as money was that everyone, non-smokers and smokers alike, would always accept them in exchange for food. They understood that smokers would ultimately demand them, and that understanding led to confidence that cigarettes would hold their value. Now, there were disadvantages of using cigarettes as money. The most important disadvantage is that prices of goods in terms of cigarettes would fluctuate. When Red Cross parcels first arrived in the camp, cigarettes were very plentiful. What would happen then? Well, people were willing to give a lot of cigarettes in order to get, say, tinned beef, and prices would rise. If a long amount of time had passed without new Red Cross parcels, smokers assured that cigarettes were coming relatively scarce, and then prices would fall. This variation in prices made camp life somewhat difficult. But keep in mind that cigarettes really did function as money. They were accepted in trade not only by smokers, but by non-smokers alike, who understood that they could later exchange them for things they wanted. This is not simply playing house. The cigarette money made a difference in the camp. Many more trades were accomplished because of these cigarette monies. And those trades were very, very important to the imprisoned officers who made them. Let's look for a more recent example. In 1989, Frank Tortoriello, owner of a delicatessen in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, wanted to move his deli and sought a loan from his local bank. Unfortunately, the bank denied his loan application, leaving him without the means to move his delicatessen. But with guidance from the Schumacher Society, Tortoriello issued deli dollars, which promised $10 worth of merchandise at the deli. Tortoriello sold the deli dollars for $8 each to individuals who gave them as gifts and purchased them for their own use. He raised sufficient funds to move his deli. Deli dollars were well designed. They had staggered redemption dates so that the deli would not be forced to redeem them all in a short period of time. In this way, Tortoriello had an inflow of cash as well as deli dollars. And this example seems to me to be an interesting combination of a local currency and a kind of microfinance scheme. Deli dollars permitted Tortoriello to borrow from his future customers. The discount they received functioned like interest on the loan they made to him. The promise of future meals provided security that the customers valued more than the bank that had turned down Tortoriello's loan application. Now, while deli dollars resembled currency, there are no accounts that I know of third parties accepting them. That is, the deli dollars were created by the deli owner, sold to current and future deli customers, and then later represented to the deli owner in exchange for meals. But I can find no accounts of the deli dollars being used to, say, buy goods at the Great Barrington hardware store. But I do have another example where a local currency certainly did and continues to circulate as money. In 1991, Paul Glover spearheaded the movement to issue Ithaca Hours in Ithaca, New York, the home of Cornell University. Glover issued 2 free Ithaca Hours, each with a face value of $10, to people who would agree to accept them and to be listed in a publication called Our Town. Nice play on words, isn't it? H-O-U, Our Town. By 2000, according to Glover, thousands of Ithacans routinely accepted and spent Ithaca Hours. Now, I can verify that. I was able to acquire Ithaca Hours myself on the one occasion when I happened to visit the farmers market in Ithaca. Notice an important difference between Ithaca Hours and deli dollars. Ithaca Hours are not sold by a firm that is trying to raise funds for its own use. Glover gave Ithaca Hours away to subscribers who agreed to spend them locally and accept them from others. Also, Ithaca Hours function like a real currency. They travel between various Ithaca citizens and Ithaca businesses and stay in circulation. Deli dollars made a single round trip. Deli, customer, deli. Ithaca Hours keep traveling. So, what's that project all about? Well, the purpose of the Ithaca Hours project is to promote the local economy in Ithaca. Since Ithaca Hours are not accepted outside the town, indeed they're hardly known about outside the town, except for people like me who study them, anyone who accepts an Ithaca Hours certificate in exchange for some good or service is making essentially a commitment to spend that certificate with another local merchant or service provider. And indeed, that's the point. Ithaca Hours is a scheme to promote the development of the local economy in Ithaca. Closer to my home, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, we too have a local currency. It's called the Plenty, standing for Piedmont Local Economy Tender. The Plenty is widely accepted in Orange, Alamance, and Chatham County. And there is a catalog in which people and businesses who are willing to accept Plenty can indicate their willingness to do so in the catalog and online. The Plenty is a similar scheme to the Ithaca Hour. It is meant to stimulate the rural community just to the west of Chapel Hill. In addition to local currencies, there is another type of non-standard financial arrangement that addresses the desire of individuals to coordinate their economic activity, but now through the process of lending and borrowing funds. The motivation for this is easily understood, but I'd like to capture the motivation in a parable. Imagine with me for a moment a remote village without any connection to a modern financial institution. It might be in Polynesia, it might be in Africa. You use your own imagination. Most likely, the village is going to be located in an underdeveloped country. Or perhaps it was a village in a much earlier time. Now that we've fixed our image, suppose further that in the village there are 10 families. The number's arbitrary, but stick with 10. Each family would like to own a bicycle. None has one. One family would use the bicycle to haul vegetables to market. Maybe a second family would convert the bicycle into a rickshaw and start a business. I imagine a third family would allow their 2 children to ride the bicycle to a town 20 miles away where they could attend a better school, and so forth. Left to their own devices, each of the 10 families could save up to buy their bicycle. Imagine a service of bicycle cost about $100. And imagine that in this rural area, each family could scrape together about $10 of savings per year. Then all 10 families could have a bicycle, but all 10 families would have to wait 10 years. And all 10 families would end up buying the bicycle at about the same time. What a waste! Each family would hide its savings in a secure place, waiting for the day when they had accumulated the price of a bicycle. For 10 years, all those funds would remain idle. After the 10 years, the aggregated saving of the 10 families would be $1,000, but only then would they be able to buy a bicycle. 1 year before, they would have in aggregate $900, but none of them would be able to buy a bicycle. That seems like a real waste to me. Is there a better arrangement? Well, maybe there is. Suppose the 10 families made an agreement. Each year, the 10 families would meet in the village center, perhaps sharing supper first, but certainly bringing with them the $10 they had saved in the past year. The families, perhaps, would draw lots, and the winning family would receive $100 to buy a bicycle, $10 from each of the 10 families. After 1 year, one family would have a bicycle. After the second year, a second family would have their bicycle. And so forth and so on. Only one family out of the 10 would have to wait the full 10 years to buy a bicycle. Now, other ways to decide the order in which families obtain their bicycles would be possible. Perhaps the families would bid for the right to go next. Or perhaps there would be some sort of meritocracy where the village headman would say, you have made an important contribution, you get to go next. Not important now. The important thing is that the accumulated saving of the 10 families would be put to work every single year. This is something they could do together and something they could not do family by family. The cooperative arrangement seems clearly superior to the go-it-alone arrangement described at the outset where everyone waits. But will it work? One potential flaw is that the families who have already gotten a bicycle have an incentive to stop making their $10 annual contribution. That's important because if any family doubts that other families will continue to make payments, they may reach the conclusion that the cooperative arrangement is very risky and never participate. They would prefer to go it alone. Can we solve this problem? What sort of a mechanism could ensure that families would follow through, keep their promise, and make their payments every year, even though they already had gotten their bicycle? Well, there are lots of possibilities. One possibility would be that the village headman would ostracize any family that broke the commitment. A second possibility is that each family would agree in advance to forfeit the bicycle if they fail to make their promised payments. Other solutions are possible, and you can think of them, but it's clear that some enforcement mechanism would be necessary. Sticking with this theme of cooperative financial arrangements of a non-standard sort, let me point out that the benefits from providing even small loans to individuals are potentially very large. And institutions that embody the spirit of cooperation have sprung up to fill this potential. As the parable suggests, there are many situations in which every member of the group could benefit from a coordinated arrangement to save funds and lend them out to group members. The story also underscores another important theme. There are many groups of individuals who, for a variety of reasons, do not have access to traditional lending institutions. Throughout the course of history, individuals who wanted to borrow but were unable to secure loans from banks and other standing lending institutions sought alternatives. I'm going to ask you next time you drive through your city to keep your eyes open and think differently about something you may see, the pawn shop. Pawn shops are very, very old institutions that have traditionally provided credit to those who could not obtain it from banks. How does a pawn arrangement work? Well, to obtain credit from a pawn shop, the would-be borrower would bring some physical object to the shop, such as a musical instrument, a piece of jewelry, a tool. In the southwest of the United States, Native Americans traditionally bring handmade jewelry. The shop owner, the pawn shop owner, would lend the borrower an amount less than the estimated value of the object offered in pawn and retain the object as collateral. If the borrower paid back what was owed, the borrower would get the item back. If not, the pawn shop owner would sell the item to recoup the amount of the loan. And then we might have an opportunity to buy it as old pawn. Okay. It follows that one mechanism for providing credit to an otherwise underserved population are these non-standard arrangements, popularly talked about as rotating Saving and Credit Associations, or ROSCA, R-O-S-C-A. There are lots of examples through history and across place of ROSCAs, including Tontine in the Cameroon and Tanda in Mexico. These arrangements are alike in most respect. They're cooperative arrangements where people gather together and pool their savings. The way tontines are different from Tanda and other ROSCAs are that the enforcement mechanism is different. Two important issues faced by a ROSCA are how to determine the order in which participants receive funds and how to ensure individuals fulfill their promises to make contributions to the ROSCA. Many ROSCAs use lotteries to determine who will next receive the funds, and they use social consequences to enforce the contract. Now I'd like to turn to a far more organized, non-standard financial arrangement and tell you yet one more story. In 1976, Professor Muhammad Yunus, head of the Rural Economics Program at the University of Chittagong, launched a project to examine the possibility of designing a credit delivery system to provide banking and lending services targeted to the rural poor. Now, you may know that Yunus won the Nobel Peace Prize for his activity in 2006. The result of Yunus's initiative is today called the Grameen Bank, and Grameen means rural or village in the Bangla language. The classic Grameen Bank model relies on group lending. Grameen clients are too poor to offer collateral, but tend to have close ties to a community. So Grameen borrowers must first form groups whose members monitor and support one another, help one another to fulfill their repayment obligations. Groups number 5 and 2 members of the group can receive a loan at any one time. If a group defaults and doesn't repay what it borrows, every member of the group is barred from receiving future loans. Yunus realized that the marginal value, the marginal productivity of the investment that was made possible by a very small loan to poor people was very high. Borrowers, he believed, could repay because the loans, although small, led to very profitable investments, very valuable, productive investments. Another enforcement mechanism used by the Grameen Bank model is progressive lending. What's that mean? Well, progressive lending makes available larger and larger loans to groups of individuals who have successfully paid back earlier, smaller loans. Why is it incentive? Well, someone who receives a small loan, uses it, and repays it, finds him or herself in the position where their group can now seek bigger loans and undertake bigger projects. The Grameen model has been hugely successful. For example, in Bangladesh alone, the Grameen Bank grew from nothing to 1 million members by 1991 and to 7.5 million members by June of 2008. Recently, the Grameen Bank has come under scrutiny from a variety of government agencies. Some critics question whether microfinance does have the beneficial impact on poverty that the bank claims. Other critics, especially those in government, are simply threatened by the growth of the bank and the power of Yunus himself. Still other critics claim that microfinance arrangements are wrong because they charge high interest rates to their clients. What we have learned here is that financial arrangements are not only the business of Wall Street. Citizens of Main Street understand the power of monetary arrangements to coordinate economic activity. And as our examples of local currencies have shown, they at times have themselves created monies to accomplish local economic objectives. Finance is just not the business of the wealthy. The poor can benefit greatly from the ability to borrow and invest. The microfinance model uses non-traditional ways to enforce agreements to repay and have proved successful arrangements throughout the world. Groups of individuals have sought ways to coordinate their economic activity that frequently transcend traditional models of money and banking. Local currencies and microfinance arrangements are two types of institutions that thrive even amidst a multitude of highly financed traditional institutions. Thank you.
How many guys out there have been using their wife or girlfriend shampoo? Your hair is different, so do them and your hair a favor. Get your own. Dove Men Plus Care has created a range designed to give your hair the care it needs to stay strong and more resilient. Available at Walmart.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.18%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rates subject to change. A 1.375% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Buckle up, because Metro is bringing you the best deal in wireless. Switch to Metro and get your choice of 2 awesome free phones from top brands like Samsung and LG with huge HD screens and tons of memory for all your pics and videos. So hurry into Metro and get your awesome free phones only at Metro. Plus sales tax and activation fee. Requires port-in of eligible number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. Limit 4 per account or household. Restrictions apply. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Don't miss this huge day after deal at Old Navy. Thursday only, get 50% off all jeans for the whole family. That's right, 50% off all jeans, even your favorite Rockstar jeans. Hurry, it's Thursday only at Old Navy and OldNavy.com. Valid 12/26, excludes in-store clearance.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.08%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.25% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
That's why I'm staying with this riff. Take it easy. Lord, take it easy. Take it easy. Got to take it easy. See, we're taking it easy. We're taking it slow. Taking it easy. Got to take it slow. So take it easy. Oh, take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. Excuse me while I light my splay. Oh God, I got to take a leave from reality. I just can't drill. That's why I'm staying with this real. Take it easy. Got to take it easy. Take it easy. Skank it, take it easy. Tell you what, herb for my wine, honey for my strong drink. Herb for my wine, honey for my strong drink. I'll take it easy. Skank it, take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. Oh, take it easy. Little bit easier. Skank it, take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy.
We smoke, we drink, get money, we bank. He's short, I'm long, he's strapped, I'm calm, spit crack, every song, each track. We bomb, blow leaks, hit bombs, he's cheap, I'm charmed.
Yeah, the scene takes place back in 98. I was 16 on the grind selling weight. We ain't like each other, but both was about the cheddar. My nigga was laid back, I was like whatever. Running with the wolves, wilding out with my hair out. Late night scheming and nobody knew my whereabouts. But as we grew apart, something brought us closer. Used to be estranged, now we blowing doja. And it's all good, that's my right hand. I kill a nigga for my nigga, hope you understand. Now the picture's clear, I even out the odds. Keep it 100 with the haters, even out the odds. Nigga, that's real shit. I keep it official. Delegates Southside, you know the issue. Best of both worlds, both sides of the penny. Alpha and Omega, beginning and the ending.
We drink, get money, we bank. He's short, I'm long, he's strapped, I'm calm, spit crack, every song, each track. We bomb, blow leaves, hit bombs, he's cheap, I'm charmed. I heard opposites attract, one begins, one ends, is the spectrum, complicated, yes it is, a conundrum, in your head, in the ear, cerebellum, education's what it is, never tell them, or they will say it isn't real, what the hell son, be whipping work, our shit is fire, can't it sell, You know they love it, now they country says so, son, I'm not a whole one, I'm not a joke, we on the block now, I'm off the slope, son, I need a rope now, so I can climb down, call it a touchdown, now put your hands up, and move your hips round, we like the Justice League, with only two down, Batman and Robin, we reppin' C-Town, I call it C-Po, you call it Chatham County, it's MC killing season, and we collect the bounce. We drink, get money, we bank, he's short, I'm long, he's strapped, I'm calm, spit crack, every song, each track. We bomb, blow leaves, hit bombs. He's Cheech, I'm Chong. We smoke, we drink, get money, we banked. He's short, I'm long. He's strapped, I'm calm. Spit crack, every song, each track. We bomb, blow leaves, hit bombs. He's Cheech, I'm Chong.
Blog Talk Radio.
Sounds like feedback. Yeah, I think I got a little feedback. Everybody get in. It's Wednesday. You're listening to feedback. Technical difficulties. I'm better now. I'm back. I was trying to do something, but anyway, it's April 25th, and we are live in living color. Yeah, honey, see if you can hear this. If you can hear me. Anyway, it's 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. I think it's about 4 o'clock on the West Coast. And I dropped the call. You hung the phone. Yep, you did. You hung that phone up. You know. I called in. Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens when you have technical difficulties, y'all. You try to get everything cool. But anyway, it's like I said, 6 o'clock, 6:05 on the Central Standard Time, 7:05 East Coast, 4 o'clock on the West Coast. How y'all doing? This is Ron March Show. I'm Roy. You know, tonight we got Ghetto Physics live Ghetto Physics again. We had a good show last week. I got a little carried away last week. I had to admit it, but you know what? It's all good. It's all good. All you got to do is open your eyes and watch what's happening out in America, and it all makes sense to you. Our people. Well, let's look at it this. Let's talk about the shooting of the policeman. We're going to start out with that. A policeman was shot in Dallas, supposedly escorting a gentleman from Home Depot. 2 policemen were shot. I believe one of them died either last night or today or something. Anyway, the guy was apprehended. Now, I looked at it. I watched a little bit of it. I'm trying, TV, the news is just terrible. So, it is what it is, and we got to do what we got to do. And I want to say it's amazing, but it isn't. Yeah, I want to say I was astounded, but I'm not. That these people who active shooters with guns, such as the Waffle House person, and they already started feeding us how they want us to feel about this person. Mental, partially nude. They're telling us all these facts, but not a scratch. He was apprehended. And we can't get through a traffic stop without being shot in the car, strapped to a seatbelt. That's the America we live in. That's America. That's America. A European white woman can make all kinds of negative statements about the former First Lady Bush, who just passed away, and you know what? It is what it is, and she had no fear of any repercussions. And if you read the story, she called her a racist and all kinds of things. And the university where she works, she is a professor, a tenured professor, I believe, in English. That university said today that they were appalled and that they were set back and how hurt they were by what she said, but everything she said is protected under free speech, and they're not going to fire her. She's not going to lose her job, which is the same thing the lady said when she put it out there and called her a racist and so forth. And I think that's Barbara Bush. I think that's the one. I don't know. One of them Bushes anyway. Same way with the person who shot 2 cops in Dallas, Texas. Now, it's just amazing how we are stopped, searched, and handcuffed for our own protection. And I keep saying that it ain't amazing. I use the best word I could come up with. It's incredible. Incredible. That means it's no credit. That means it's not true. It's incredible. It's unthinkable. If a black man gets stopped, that he's not going to be searched immediately and handcuffed. All you got to do is watch him and sit him on the curb, tell him to cross his legs, even if he hasn't done anything. But look at the black woman who got arrested in the Waffle House. And us Northerners, you Northerners that don't travel, a lot of people don't travel. A lot of people stay in their comfort zone. Use that term. A lot of black people and white people, a lot of people don't leave their inner community where they feel safe unless somebody else is driving. So unless you live in the South or know somebody who lives in the South or travel in the South, you don't understand the Waffle House phenomenon. And I'm not disparaging the Waffle House. I'm going to simply compare it to a version of what we Northerners use as White Castle. Now, the White Castles have to be fair to them, the White Castle restaurants have really attempted to, what's the word I want to use, raise their level of service. How's that? So most of the ones used to stay open 24 hours. You could buy one cup of coffee on a cold night and sit in there all night. And a lot of people did. Homeless people did. And the ones in the homeless people neighborhood, those were shut down. In any event, and if I'm wrong, somebody hit one. If you're on the internet, I put something out on Facebook today. If you're listening on the internet and you want to chime in, here's the number to call in. Last week I forgot to give out the number. If you want to chime in, call and hit 1. But here's the number. It's area code 319-527-6054. If you want to chime in, you can call that number. If you hit 1, I'll recognize you and bring you in, and we can discuss a few things. But in any event, the Waffle House thing is basically a late night spot where you can get a cheap breakfast. I'll just leave it at that. And a lot of people of color, after they party all night or do whatever they're doing in the middle of the night, they go to the Waffle House and get breakfast or do whatever, and meet their girlfriends or drop their girlfriends off or whatever they're doing before they go home to their wife or whatever, So that's the backdrop of what you see when you see that black woman getting arrested in the Waffle House. Now, the white boy could shoot up the Waffle House and nobody come. In fact, I want to commend the young black man. If you saw him, he had a bandage on his hand, and I use that analogy. That brother grabbed with one hand. Well, he said he had got greased. That brother grabbed the hot end of a rifle and held on to it and whooped that white boy with the other hand. I want to commend. That ain't funny. I want to commend him because he said he didn't want to die, and he had children, and they were calling him a hero, and and all I can tell y'all to do is just watch. We're going to be told that this person is mental and blah, 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 after he, I believe, killed 3 or 4 and wounded some. And, of course, he had the gun of choice, the rifle AR-15, the gun of choice for mass murders. And of course, we're so numb to this phenomenon of mass murders that 4 is not a mass murder anymore. 4 people being shot in one place is not considered a mass murder. I mean, in Vegas, you know, he shot lots of them, killed lots of them. In Vegas, shot, you know, he was. So come on. So 4, we were so numb. We are so. It's like a TV program. And, you know, and Mayor went on TV and he did the news circuit, the young brother, and I commend him and he, you know, they really liked him because he thanked Jesus. He went to Jesus on Sunday. They said he was in church and blah, blah, blah. You know, and I ain't mad at him. You know, if Jesus works for you, then you should keep doing Jesus. That's my line in the sand. You know, it don't work for me. But if it works for you, do Jesus. Do Jesus. You know, don't push your religion on me. But if that's your MO, I ain't mad at you for it. I ain't mad at you for it. I just want y'all to see what you see. That's why tonight, you know, we're going to follow the yellow brick road. Because we got to figure something out. We're going to go back in the time. How far back? Not too far. Far enough for us not to remember and not too far at all. Because 100 years ain't that far back. You know, 100 years, as when I was into religion, they say, you know, to the Creator or to God, 100 years is like 5 minutes, or 5 minutes is like 100 years, something like that. You know, they used to use that to tell us how time goes. So, you know, and if this is 2018, 1918 really wasn't that far time off in the past. And we ain't even going back that far. We're just going to go back to when America was great. Make America great again. You know, that whole scenario says some crazy stuff because the people who lived in those times didn't think it was that great. You go back to the 30s, and, you know, we were being entertained. We had all kind of good movies back then that you know, I wasn't born till 57, so, hey, I can't tell you about it. I mean, I can tell you, but I can't tell you. You know, it's hard to talk about something that you read in somebody's book and you didn't experience it because you only have there. And if you don't indulge and dig deeper, then you will miss the facts that they omitted. And I'll say they omitted them on purpose. Plus, they probably omitted some by accident. I'll give it to them both ways. But in any event, there was a movie that I grew up hating. I used to hate to watch it. And it came around every year. And think about it. Every year, this movie came at the same time of the year. It was played for us. And we sang along with it. And of course, you know, if you caught the title for tonight's show, which is Follow the Yellow Brick Road, you know what I'm talking about, The Wizard of Oz. And if you really, really watching it, if you really watch that movie, The Wizard of Oz, you're about to get, I'm getting ready to explode that movie in your brain. Because tonight, we're going to pick it apart just a little bit and talk about a few little scenes in there and what they really were conveying to us. Because the time and the place and the year and all the things that went on when they made that movie, that movie is what we call a allegory. And it was trying to tell you something, but it didn't want to just come right out and tell you. So it was supposed to make you think. Supposed to. Now, you know what? It goes back to the old story about the one that the one that comes to mind is the the granddaughter asked grandma or asked her mama, why you cut the end off the ham for Thanksgiving. She was in the kitchen. Mama was cooking Thanksgiving dinner. She grabbed the big ham and took that big old that big machete blade y'all got in y'all's kitchen. Everybody got one. I know I didn't call it right, and she slammed it on the back of that ham and chopped that little piece off and threw it in the trash. And granddaughter looked at her and said, Grandma. I said, Mama, why you throw that ham in there? Why you throw that away? And she looked at her and she said, well, Grandma, your mom did it. And so she went to Grandma. Grandma, why you cut the end off the ham? What are you talking about? She went in the kitchen. They got to talking. They went back far enough and started asking questions. And finally, they come to find out the only reason that it happened the first time was because the pan wasn't big enough. That's the way this story runs with the wizard. If you ain't paying attention, and now that we don't understand any longer, we think we're being entertained, and we miss all the message. So I'm going to mess up the Wizard of Oz for you forever. The next time y'all see the Wizard of Oz, everything that comes on that I tell you tonight go pop into your head, and you go say, is that Negroid? So, first of all, let's start with it. It was written for the 30s, the 1930s, when the stock market crashed and bankruptcy for the government immediately followed. Now, so think about that. And there's lots of symbolism. Everybody in there, everything in the movie, every part of the movie is symbolic. Even with the very beginning, we know it was set in the great state of Kansas. And the twister comes in. And everybody's whirling around in confusion. And that was the stock market. Stock market crashed and money was going crazy. And the Great Depression came in. And the tornado came in and tore up everything. And Dorothy and Toto had to go somewhere to figure it out. They had to take you out of your reality and put you in fantasy. And what was that fantasy? And the movie starts out. When the house lands on the Wicked Witch of the West, or the Wicked Witch of the West sister, or whatever, when the legs rolled up under the house and all that with them slippers on her, she lands in Oz. That's where we are today, y'all. We are in Oz. And Dorothy says, hey, because Dorothy was a real person, she looked at the dog and said, God dang, Toto, this don't feel like Kansas anymore. That's what happened after the Great Depression. That's right after bankruptcy. Kansas wasn't K-A-N period anymore. See, we think that it was just they did something for the heck of it. Illinois used to be I-L-L. Michigan used to be M-I-C-H. Kansas went to K-S. Corporation. All caps. Illinois was capital I, small L, small L. Michigan was capital M, small I, small, lower. I'm going to say small because y'all think y'all aren't going to say it right. I got to say it right. Lowercase I, lowercase C, lowercase S, H rather. All the states went to 2 letters, all caps, and became corporate. Artificial corporate venue of the bankrupt United States, federal territory. Dorothy and Toto went from free to slaves. And on her journey, Dorothy had to, the corporation had to tell her how they wanted to deal. How we going to deal with y'all? It's amazing. This movie is amazing. And I read this and I almost fell out of my chair. I was reading this and I'm just going. It was good. So I had to run it tonight. I had to run it. Now, who did she meet up with? The Scarecrow, and he was made of straw. The first thing she had to do, they introduced you to, was the straw man. The Scarecrow. We're going to decode all these, the three of them, the straw man, the tin man, and the cowardly lion. Now, what did the Scarecrow need? He was identified because he had straw, the persona of Donna. Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking. Whoo! Of course, I'm not bright about doing these things, he said. And his classic song was, what? If I only had a brain. And part of that song, y'all should pull it up. I'm going to challenge y'all. Go, don't believe me. Pull this up. Pull up the song. Because in the song, he tells you, one of the lines in the songs is, I'd unravel every riddle for every individual in trouble or in pain. I'd be thinking I could be another Lincoln if I only had a brain. Until I saw this, I pulled it up, now. I pulled it up. I pulled up the song. It's just in light of redemption. That's what we're talking about. That's what we've been talking about. That's what we striving for. That's what public versus private and all those things we've been talking about on this show. That's what this is all about. Once you discover your straw man exists, all political and legal and complex and confusing and all that stuff, he once takes legal title, you must, we must, I must control of my, all caps, my straw man. That's why you are considered a ward of the state. Unless you declare it. And that's what he was talking about in the movie. He becomes authorized representative of the straw man to accept, discharge, and sell all affairs as in Oz, the new commercial world, a.k.a. Matrix, because the straw man has no brains, no hands and fingers to grasp a pen, to write a check, to speak, to pay a debt or a fine. You become legally bound to the straw man, except for the fact that somebody else is in control of him. The second character is the Tin Man, T-I-N. Taxpayer identification number. Yeah, I'm here. I'm still here. Here we go. Taxpayer identification number. The Tin Man was a hollow man of metal, a vessel, a vehicle, a newly created commercial code word for the straw man. Just like the scarecrow, the Tin Man had no brains and no heart. He was artificial, fake, counterfeit. One of the definitions of tin in the dictionary is counterfeit. The Tin Man also represented the mechanical and heartless aspects of commerce and law. Remember, they say that to you all the time. It ain't nothing personal. It's just business. It's just business. That's what they tell y'all. That's what they tell y'all. That's what they tell me. That's what they tell us. When the police whoop your butt, oh no, that's the way we're just following the law. It's just business. They have the attitude that nothing is personal. Business is business. And they are heartless. Think about it. Go back to that lady I was telling you. Go back to them ladies that was sitting in that restaurant in Harlem. And the manager said they had dined and dashed the night before and came over there screaming at them. I know y'all know about that. Anyway, sidebar. It was heartless. The modem of commercial law in early dominant civilizations included fascist states. The word Tin Man expressing relief after Dorothy oiled his rusted parts. And he said, I've held that axe up for ages. The word ace is the etymology related to the word axe. And in the deck of cards, the only one above the king is the ace, i.e. God, the axe, axis of power, fascist state. The symbol for fascism is a bundle of rods with an axe bound in the middle and its blade projecting. Now, guess who has that bundle of rods with an axe in the middle, blade projected? Take a deep breath, y'all. United States Senate. Go look at the United States Senate. The Mercury Head Dime had one. It also can be found on the wall behind each speaker's podium in the United States Senate. At the base of the seal of the Senate are two crossed blades with the sign and symbol of the fascist states, rods, and the axe in the middle. I looked it up before I came on the show tonight. I looked it up. Don't believe me. I'm going to spell it for you. I almost call it feces, but it's not feces. It's FASCES. Look on the Senate, the seal for the Senate. The third character was the Cowardly Lion. We when I think about when I read this and think about that movie, I should have been seeing this before I even read this. I don't even know where my brain was. TV is too entertaining. We have just been put to sleep. King of beasts, feared in the jungle, but was lacking courage. Now, the lion is symbolic of us. We lost our courage. We used to be fearless. And there's a lot of them out there. Think about how all of these races, and I'm going to use that word, have been coming out the woodwork. In fact, they've been holding meetings and walking down centers of town, and they must have went to the wizard. They must have went to the wizard. But all the ones doing the talking, they ain't doing nothing. The American people, we have been put in a state of fear. You can't beat City Hall. Scared to go to court. They got us so scared that instead of making them take us to court and get our day in court, we take a plea. The federal system, revenue collectors, cops, judges, courtrooms, tribunals, justice. What the heck? Yeah, right, just us. Okay. The just us system. And they got you believing in it. And all we got to do is look and go back to last week's show when we talked about the guys at Starbucks. And everybody who don't look like us, first thing out of their mouth was, what did they do? And when everybody said they just came in and sat down and was waiting for somebody, they was like, no. That can't be true. They had to be doing something. Anyway, the beat down is on. And with the beat down on so much, even the Parkland students are getting the beat down. It's only simple that you would lose some courage. We just last week was April 15th, April 17th, April 18th, whatever day the IRS says you need to pay. And Americans around the country, except for the wizard, Americans around the country, except for the wizard, paid large sums of money. TurboTax and all those other tax preparers, because the IRS said you better pay. Told you that straw man, the all caps, was you. And if you don't pay, we coming after you. And remember, it's only business. Only business. And they only dealing with the straw man, who's the debtor, under the laws of commerce. And they are just like the tin man. Heartless. So I done laid the foundation. Let's talk about this show. Let's talk about the movie. Dorothy and her straw man, her tin man, and her cowards, they all had to get there. They was in Oz. Nobody, the only real person was Dorothy. She's the only real person. They had to go to see the wizard. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. I remember the song, I'm about to sing it, but I ain't going to do that. And how did they know how to get there? They had to ease on down the road. Because, we had to jazz it up. Black people, we had to jazz it up. We took ours off. We called it the Wiz, but it was follow the yellow brick road. What are we talking about in 1930? Gold, baby. Gold bricks, yellow brick road. All one has to do is follow the trail of the stolen gold, your gold. Because remember, before 1930s, everything that we had was backed by gold and silver. That's why the slippers were silver. I ain't got to that part yet, even though they changed them to red in the movie. The original movie, the slippers were silver. 1 ounce of gold equals 15 ounces of silver. All money was backed by gold and silver until the Great Depression, bankruptcy. Then they stole it all. And if you now back into the movie, I want y'all to look this up. Look up Professor Marvel. I'm telling you, it's as clear as the nose on your face. Look up Professor Marvel. Professor Marvel. Well, who's Professor Marvel? Y'all remember in The Wizard of Oz? Let's see. Let's go back. We can already hit that part, but I want to bring us forward. Go back. We gonna mess around. I'm gonna keep it moving because I gotta make sure I get through this before we open the lines. I'm gonna try to open the lines, but I want y'all to get through this. Now remember, Dorothy had ran away because the evil woman wanted a dog, and Annie M didn't want to give up the dog, Toto, and Dorothy got mad and took the dog and ran away with a basket. And on her way to wherever she thought she was going, she ran into Professor Marvel. And guess what Professor Marvel had on the back of his traveling, what was he, a soothsayer, a medicine man? It said, let's see, by traveling mystique, Professor Marvel. His shingle said he was acclaimed by the crowned heads of Europe, past, present, and future. Now, wait, that's what his shingle read right on the back of his wagon. And if you don't believe me, which I hope you don't, Google Professor Marvel, Wizard of Oz, and slow it down so you can read it for yourself. And you know, all you got to do is listen to what he said to her first thing out of his mouth. First thing out of his mouth. When Dorothy and Professor got to talking, guess who he talked about? He went right to Egypt and talked about Isis, Osiris, and I believe Cleopatra. Now, y'all know I didn't believe that. I'm telling you, I didn't believe it. And I didn't see, I told you with the movie, I hated that movie. I hated The Wizard of Oz. And it came, you know it's going to come on again. It comes on every year. It used to. I don't know. You can go find it now. But you can Google Professor Marvel, 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 and it's like a 2-minute, it's a 2-minute thing I'm telling you is there. So what happens? They got to go to Emerald City to meet with Oz. They need to see the wizard. So once they leave the forest, they go through they following the yellow brick road. They get to singing and dancing, and your brain goes off somewhere. And the Wicked Witch of the West is desperate for them ruby red slippers Dorothy was wearing, as they held special powers. What kind of powers? Now remember, I told you the original ones were silver. But you know, writers have what they call, they can lean, see, you know, they can kind of stretch the story one way, leave things out. And so because they knew that if I told you they was red, if they had red slippers, ruby red, that would parts of the movie you remember, them ruby red slippers. Remember, I told you 1 ounce of gold was 15 ounces of silver. It was probably too overbearing to see Dorothy skipping down the yellow brick road with them silver slippers on, knowing what they was getting ready to do. But anyway, between 1916 and 1933, all the privately owned gold was stolen, and you were given Federal Reserve notes, and all that gold was sent to the Queen of England, and into Germany, because gold didn't have no interest. Gold went up and down with the stock market and economy. Federal Reserve notes carry an interest that can only be paid in gold. And we were defrauded. We were lied to. We traded our gold in for what we call greenbacks. And that's why JFK was murdered, because he was reissuing, which would be interest-free, and the bankers couldn't have it. When bankruptcy was declared in 1933, Americans were required to turn in all gold and silver, coins, bullions, certificates, by May Day. By May Day, May 1st. The birth in Bavaria, the birthday of the IRS, and worldwide celebrated International Workers' Holiday, a holy day to the wizard and his tribe, May 1st. And we about to head to May 1st, I think next week, next Tuesday. It's May Day again. Y'all watch and see. There'll be some May Day celebration. They ain't going to tell you what I just told you. But anyway, think about it. Think about these people who had all this gold, and somebody told them they needed to turn it in. How you going to get them to do that? And they give you a note that says, we got your gold, and you can spend this note. That sounds crazy. But anyway, of course they was upset. Of course the people was mad. So they couldn't have had them slippers silver. So they, for whatever reason, they used red. Now, red means has some significance too. It's blood. It symbolizes living, breathing. Non-corporated, non-artificial. It symbolizes the real person, not the straw man. The color red also could have been chosen because of the Rothschilds, the red shield, private versus public. Look on your Social Security card. There's a red number on the reverse, signifying private side, bond accounts attached to the public side, the straw man. Yes. And even in the Postal Service, when you send registered mail, they got a green one and they got a red one. And the post people know when they see a red one, it's personal. And when they see a green one, it's public. the straw man, counterfeit, corporate blood, blue ink on the birth certificate. No matter the color, it don't matter. The wicked witch of the West, she needed them slippers. And she had to move fast to get Dorothy before she got to Emerald City. Now, so what did she do? She covered the countryside with poppy flowers. Ain't that the same epidemic we having right now? Opioids. Heroin, opium, morphine. Ain't the American people under a drug attack to make us unconscious so they can walk right in and snatch them slippers? The best way to subjugate people is to drive a wedge down between them and then give them something to make them feel good, hook them on dope. And if they don't use illegal, if you don't get caught up in the illegal, just hit me. If you don't get caught up in the illegal, if you ain't smoking weed or buying pills on the corner, your doctor's gonna give them to you. If you ain't, and I remember LSD and all that stuff. I wasn't involved with it, but think about it. Poppies and drugs worked only on Dorothy, the lion, and Toto, or flesh and blood people. The Tin Man and the Scarecrow, who was fake. Think about the movie now. Think about the movie. The Tin Man and the Scarecrow, who was fake. It had no effect on them because they was artificial. And the Tin Man and the Scarecrow cried to the good witch. Ain't that oxymoron? Think about that. Think about all the things they sold us in this movie. Wait a minute. Good witch. Bad witch. They still doing that. They got that show. I think they took it off with them women on there that was witches. And in fact, when I was little, they had that show called Bewitched. And it was one family of good and bad. The same as this movie. The same as, oh man, the same as the Wizard of Oz. And what did the good witch do? She blanketed them with snow to stimulate them. What kind of snow stimulates you? Cocaine. To nullify the effects of the opium. And what are the police carrying right now? To nullify the overdoses all over the country. Now, think about it. And even at this stage of the game, what are the two, three most powerful street drugs available in America? And are still available. And one of them they're trying to make legal, marijuana. And they don't even talk about crack or cocaine no more because the opioid epidemic has taken over. We are everything to put you back to sleep. As they scampered toward Emerald City, the Federal Reserve note, the fiat money by decree, the Munchkins is singing out. You're out of the woods, you're out of the dark, you're out of the night, Step into the sun, step into the light. I know y'all remember that song. I ain't going to sing because I can't sing. I tried to sing one time. I embarrassed myself, so I can't sing. You're out of the woods. You're out of the dark. You're out of the night. Step into the sun. Step into the light. Keep straight ahead for the most glorious place on the face of earth or the stars. What place was that? Oz, baby. Darkness and light. Symbolic metaphors. The Wicked Witch of the West made her home in a round medieval watchtower, ancient symbol for the Knights Templars of Freemasonry, 33 and the third, who were given the practice of witchcraft and also credited as originators of modern banking. The Wicked Witch of the West, also dressed in black, symbolizing Saturn, sacred icons, Knights Templars. Who else wears black? Who else wears black, y'all? Who else wears black? Y'all watch it. Who else wears black? The judge, your preacher. Preachers done got a little more flamboyant. They might have a purple. Some of them wear red. But Catholicism's don't. They wear black robes. Who was the Wicked Witch of the West? Remember, in the first part of the movie, her counterpart, she was the one that wanted the dog right at the beginning of the movie. And Auntie M says she owned over half of the county, and she wanted the rest of it. And she has alleged that Dorothy's dog, Toto, bit her. Came to the farm with the order from the sheriff demanding that they surrender Toto to her. And Auntie M, not immediately being cooperative, questioned her and said something to the effect that Toto was really gentle with gentle people. Woo, Gentile. When she got mad and said, "Oh no, this is strictly business. And who are you to go against the law?" And every chance they get, that's what they run on you. When you don't want to do, when you question the authority, the color of law is put in your face. And you are pressured into submission. We can't go against the law. Give up Toto. And if you don't give up that dog, I'm going to sue you and take everything you got. It's not by coincidence that over 70% of all the attorneys in the world reside in America. 95% of all lawsuits are filed under U.S. jurisdiction. The Wicked Witch of the West, the lady who owned half of the county, she represents the judges, the attorneys, the congressmen, executioners, primary henchmen for transferring all wealth in America from people to the government, to the people who run the government. The wicked witch wanted the silver slippers, the precious metals. Her counterpart wanted Toto. And what does the word Toto mean? In attorney language in Latin. It means attorney in Latin. Toto means in attorney language. Dorothy and her 3 companions finally made their way to the Emerald City. They sought the audience of the wizard. He didn't want to meet with them. They were taken inside and brought before the wizard, and a giant big old head came up and a voice. Smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. And y'all remember the movie? All of them were scared. The coward, the lion, the straw man. They all were scared. Because he started telling them how powerful he was. It was only Toto pulled back the curtain and exposed the wizard as a fraud. Front man for the wizard, an agent of fiction. This wizard, the people feared the wizard. This gigantic image, this big old head behind the glass. Man, you know what it symbolizes? It symbolizes the boob tube, the government. Look at what they spewing out at us right now. Look at them soaking it up. Soaking it up. We never even heard of fake news. It's all fake news. It's all fake news, y'all. It's all fake news. It's all a big lie. It's all the wizard. But because they put it on TV, you believe it. Power of the government speaking lies before the people via TV. Because if people saw it on TV, they believe it must be true. And all we got to look at is who we have as the wizard right now and his ability to manipulate social media. And if you don't believe it, all us Facebook users. You know, I asked myself way back when they exposed Sidebar, when they exposed all those priests, and why didn't the Catholic people abandon the Catholic Church? And then I think about it now, based on what I'm saying tonight, and look at all the things. I mean, Bush told lies and weapons of mass destruction and blah. But he ain't got nothing on the current wizard. Nothing on the current wizard. And yes, Obama was too. Obama was just good. Obama was just good at it. This current wizard we got, he's something else. He'll get right on TV and lie to you. And 35% of America, or 40%, or however many of them voted for him, believe it. What can I tell you? But see, that's where we come in. We looking for redemption. We need the redemption book. We need to figure out. That's why we're doing these shows. That's the only reason I'm keeping this going. That's the only reason we talk about paperwork. Because it's up to us to pull the curtain back so that the truth can be exposed. What happened? Dorothy soon wised up. What happened? The same drug that sent millions of people of color to jail, men, that broke up communities. White boys are selling now, making millions of dollars. In Colorado, in Washington, in California, and all those other states that have legalized marijuana. And at the same time, because they haven't figured out how to play the money game yet, it's an all cash, reserve note business. Dorothy and others soon wised up and revealed the wizard for what he was, a confidence man. When asking the agent about helping the straw man get a brain, he gave the straw man a piece of paper from the university. Remember that? He gave him a degree. Wait, come on now. Yeah, I know this movie. Did he give him a brain? Hell to the no. Hell no, he didn't give him no brain. He gave the scarecrow, the straw man, a piece of paper and a diploma from the university. The wizard also cited the land, E pluribus unum, which is Latin for what, y'all? One out of many, i.e. converting the many into the new world order. Novus Ordo Securium, Latin phrase placed on the $1 bill. Y'all go read it. It's on there. NOVUSORDOSECIORUM, a Latin phrase placed on the American dollar bill shortly after bankruptcy. And he also confessed that he was born and bred in the western wilderness, an old Kansas man. He gave the Tin Man the sound of a heart. Wasn't a heart, but he gave the sound of a heart, and he gave the lion a medal to signify that the lion had courage, and we loved it. And you soaked it up, and you looked at it, and all of these. Wait, think about it now. I've told y'all at the beginning of the show that I'm going to ruin the Wizard of Oz for you forever and ever. Sorry. No, I ain't. I'm going to ruin the Wizard of Oz forever and ever. All of these, of course, were trinkets. Because Oz doesn't exist. Yeah. Oz don't exist. It didn't exist. Oz was only on paper. Chicago don't exist. New York don't exist. Dallas don't exist. Only on paper. You can't go to the city hall and say, I want to speak to Detroit. Because you can't do it. Or that's too vague. You can't go to U.S. Bank and say, I want to talk to U.S. Bank. You can't go to your mortgage company and ask to speak to your mortgage company. In fact, they can't even sue you. They can't foreclose on you. That's why a law firm, that's why a lawyer does it. He tells you he's working on behalf of, and they also tell you that you have the right to see your accuser. That's why you gonna see him. The bankers did pretty well in Europe. But as the wizard pointed out, they made a killing in the Western wilderness, i.e. America with the theft of the gold, the labor, the property, quoting Rockefeller, grateful and respectful rural folks who populated the country at the time. When Dorothy asked Glenda, the good witch of the North, representing what? Honesty, the good witch, good faith, Christianity, for help after the wizard couldn't get it back to Kansas. Remember now, she hopped in the gondola. He was going to take her back to Kansas from Oz. He couldn't get her there. The dog knew it. The dog knew she was getting a ride. After he gave all the rest of them supposedly what they needed, courage and knowledge, a heart, a brain. They jump in the gondola, the people are cheering. This is only good parts of the movie. And the stupid dog jumped out of the gondola. The dog said, hell no. The dog figured it out. Now remember that the whole show, if you think about it, the whole show revolves around the dog. D-O-G or G-O-D in reverse. The dog hopped out of the gun. They hopped out after him. And away the wizard went. So what happened? When Dorothy asked Glenda to get her back to Kansas, what did Glenda tell her? There you go. Now we at the meat and potatoes. What? You don't need me. You could have got back to Kansas a whole hour and 45 minutes ago. Now, all you had to do was get heels together and say there's no place like home. 3-day rescission period, 3 times. Truth in lending. Read some documents. Get some knowledge. You've always had the right and the power to reclaim who you are. You've always you didn't need ruby red slippers. All you had to do, because they already took them anyway, all you got to do is get your power back. Get your sovereignty back. It's so bad now that even we scared to even say the word sovereign. We scared. We don't understand it. It sounds good. It sounds real good. But if I'm sovereign, do I get my straw man? Now, see, we don't ask it that way. We don't ask it that way. We say, but, I want my retirement. If I become sovereign, am I going to lose my Social Security? Same thing. Glenda told you, all you got to do is control of your sovereignty. And nobody is going to teach you. And we're in the wake-up stage now. And with wake-up comes confusion. Why? Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Yeah, with wake-up comes confusion. Every morning when you wake up, it takes you a minute to get your brain together. With wake-up comes confusion. All I got to do is dumb you down. The more I dumb you down, the more confused you are. The more dumbed down I am, then here comes somebody to tell me that puts it right in front of my face. Right at the beginning of the movie, they talk about Osiris and Isis. And we don't have a clue. Because we too busy chasing. We too busy believing. Haven't pulled the curtain back. Because when the big head shows up, we get scared. And whatever the big head says, we believe it. It's all good in the hood. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Since people are true sovereign power, then it's only necessary to wake up from being drugged. And we have these drugs coming at us. And like I told you, if it ain't illegal, it's legal. It don't matter. More people overdose on legal, let's say prescribed medication than they do on unprescribed medication, on illegal medication. More people overdose on doctor-prescribed medication. But they ain't going to tell you that. That fact is never going to be published. And they may do it on accident. They take a pill, forgot they take it, take another one. Forgot they took it, take another one. Reclaiming your sovereignty, the remedy in today's bankrupt world. Now we get into where the rubber meets the road, because this is the hard part for us. The process includes a UCC-1 form to the Secretary of State, a chargeback invoice, a bill of exchange to the Secretary of Treasury, a TIN, where you take control of your straw man. You got to have a TIN number. You got to have a UCC trust account. You got to have, where that paperwork I've got over here on the floor. You got to go to Treasury Direct. You got to do the paperwork. You got to walk the line to discharge and take charge of the straw man. And we already know how heartless they are. We have an intimate black people, people of color, indigenous, natives. We have an intimate history of how this system has been heartless to us. And they've done everything to apply laws, rules, things they call laws, statutes, because they're really not laws, to everything we do to keep us in check. We don't even know if you don't declare. I challenge everybody. This is the easy thing you can do. Time you get a bill, the next time you send a letter to the city or the county or whoever, second paragraph always started with, I am of the age of majority. Just put that in there. Just throw that in there and watch what happens. Why did I say that? Because unless you declare that you are of the age of majority, I don't care how old you are, they're going to treat you like you're not. Now, Google that. Google age of majority and see what comes up. Put legal behind it or something. Or Black's Law Dictionary. Any of them legal documents. And put in their age of majority and see what comes up. We have been so Christianized, so religiousized in this country that we don't even get it no more. That if this, everything I said tonight about the Wizard of Oz, you have to go back and look at it and then do some research and then look at it again and go, dang. And then don't get mad at me. And I'm going to tell you right now, I ain't that clever. I'm clever enough to tell you I ain't that clever. Because I've seen the Wizard of Oz three. I'm 60. I've been seeing the Wizard of Oz at least 25 times. Because every time when it went off, I had to go to bed when I was a kid. And I have nightmares about this sorry-ass movie. Yes. Religiously applied example of unregistered foreign agents of the Internal Revenue Service, IRS accounting firm and collection agency for the Federal Reserve Bank. The IRS, Internal Revenue Service, is a accounting and collection agency for Federal Reserve Bank. Was constituted under the UCC at its inception in 1954, operating strictly in the realm ever since. I did not say they were part of the government. We think they are. We think they are. That's why the fraud people can play the same card. And you say, oh, that never happened to me. That's why they can send you an email, send you a phone call, and tell you this is the IRS, and you owe me, and go get my money. Go to Walmart and get me a money order and send it to me. And soon as you hear the word IRS, you go into a trance. And they got all your numbers. They got all your business. They know all about you because they done hacked you. And then after, let's talk Federal Reserve notes. After $25 or $30 million, Federal Reserve notes have been stolen, the Oz comes on TV. Oz, the big talking head, comes on and tells you, you've been defrauded. I'm the only one supposed to tell you. If somebody calls you on the phone, hang up. They're lying. Think about it. Oz comes on and tells you, wait. We about to have a holiday. I said this all the time. It just hit me again. Every holiday, when you're driving around, and on TV, 4th of July, what's coming up? Memorial Day. You wait. I was going to tell you. More policemen will be on the highway to catch distracted driving and drunk driving. Now, wait a minute. Hold up. Hold up the show. Hold up the show, y'all. In the hood, they never tell us that. Every Saturday night, soon as the bar closed, they running around pulling people over. Carloads of Negroes. But on the holidays, when people who don't look like us are driving around drunk, they gonna give them, and they put it on the news and put it on the billboards, flash it up. A couple of days before, more policemen are out. Get a designated driver. They don't tell you don't drink. They tell you get a designated driver. Wait. Let's go back to the movie. What happened to the Wicked Witch? How did the Wicked Witch get destroyed? Why, with a bucket of water, the true substance of all things good and healthy, a simple splash of water destroyed evil. Just like the ozone and all the other things that we do that happens to us, a little oxygen, a little hydrogen, and the Wicked Witch was destroyed. What's the meaning of the title, Wizard of Oz? Wizard of Oz. I'm almost done, y'all. 7:30. I'm gonna hang up too. Soon as I get done, I'm gonna hang up. If somebody don't click over, I'm gonna hang up. I'm looking due. I know y'all out there. You may have wondered what the meaning is behind the words of the title. Well, look them up. Like almost everything is right out there in the open. We just don't want to see it. A wizard. Skillful, clever. It's abbreviation for ONZA, ounce, ounces, unit of measurement, gold, wizard of gold, silver, precious metal. No matter how large the quantity of gold or silver is being discussed, it's always expressed in ounces rather than tons. You ain't never heard of a ton of gold. But you may have 1 million ounces of gold. Think about it. As attested in factual history of this country, the Wizard of Oz is the Wizard of Ounces. And who took the gold that backed the Americans' money? The Rothschilds and the rest of them bankers and them thieves and the lawyers. Who keeps taking it? Them the ones. Federal Reserve. Private bankers. And all they do is grease the path for these politicians and all these other liars that we look at today. That's about the only thing that the current wizard got right. It's all fake news, baby. It's all fake news. They all playing the mind game. And they certainly don't want them high school kids turn 18 to start voting. And that's what's going to happen. And they going to be manipulated if they don't know what they're doing also, too. Because. It's not in the mindset of the politicians to correct the matter and put the full, I'm going to say it my way, to give you your power back. To put the power of the dollar back in the dollar. To put the genie back in the bottle. And it's not in their mindset to back the dollar. Just think about it. Think about it, y'all. Y'all missed it. Y'all missed it. We look at this tax, so-called tax cut that the current administration pushed through, and how much money it's going to add to the deficit from a group that claimed for the past 12 years. Obama did 8, 4 and 4, 2 years before that, and they still claiming now to be quote-unquote deficit hawks. Quote-unquote, to do everything in their power to cut the deficit. Cut all the social programs and gave the money to their buddies. Even the wizard told them that. Right after it passed, he went down to his castle and played smoke and mirrors and told all the people in the audience that they was about to get rich. All of y'all gonna be rich. If you wasn't in the audience, you didn't hear it. You ain't gonna get rich, even if you heard about it. We've been told that the system works for everybody. Talking Head tells you that. What everybody has to understand is that things that, as things are today, the commercial system as in place is better for everyone just as long as everyone understands the program. Maybe the Wizard of Oz back then was the introduction of the program as the monetary condition to change America. Right, never. I don't think so. It just happens that no one told or gave full disclosure to me, to the American people, to us, not only of the change, but how to operate in the new commercial world. They did not tell you how to be sovereign. Now, in the Wizard of Oz, everything worked out for Dorothy. She went back home. She became sovereign. The code got cracked. That's us. That's us. That's who we are. We cracked the code. Remember, there's no place like home. Think about that. Think about that. Think about that. And then she's right. You better close your eyes and click your heels together 3 times and say it. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Now, and why is that? Because you created it. It's private. It's yours. Ask a person who's been in prison. Prison ain't home. He might make it as homely That's possible. But he knows it ain't home. It ain't his. Somebody can come in, pop open the door, kick over his bunk, tear up the room looking for quote-unquote contraband. If they find anything, they send him to the hole. He does hard time for a minute, and they call him back out and give him another chance to act right. There's no place like home. Redemption process. Sovereignty. Don't be afraid of the word. Don't let them con you. Don't be Kanye'd. Because I'm telling you, that TV box is all smoke and mirrors. You better get a Toto, somebody that can pull the curtain back and wise up and take a look behind the scenes. Because that's the only way you rise above it. You must become a secured party creditor. You must be a private versus public. And you must be sovereign so that you can be placed and go back to Kansas and be at home. And you don't have to worry about ours. And you'll see it coming. Instead, you're a slave, you're a debtor on the plantation, living a life in debt and servitude. It's up to you. I done decided. I've already decided. I can't decide for you. I can't decide for you. Some people don't make it to ours. They see ours, but when they get to the opioids and the cocaine, they stop right there. And they stay there. And it's okay. For them, it's okay. For them. They get stuck. Some of us, we get to ours, and even when they pull the curtain back, we tell them, pull that curtain back so I can hear what ours got to say. Some of us, we pull that curtain right back. Hold on. 440446. I got two callers. They out there. I'm sorry, y'all. You know I was on the wild. Hey, callers, 0446. You out there?
Hey, put us on a group so we're all together. But how you doing?
All right, hold on. I'm gonna bring her in. Hold on. Everybody can talk. 5215. Coretta, you out there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Oh,
hey,
all right.
Hey. So
anyway, you're talking a whole range of things here, which all mean the same thing. But I got kicked off. I don't know if anybody else is getting kicked off. I got kicked off 3 or 4 times tonight, and then put on mute. All by my phone did this. For the first hour.
Are you telling me Oz is in control? Is that?
Oh, I don't want to listen. I'm not a sovereign citizen. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just saying.
See. What you just said.
don't lean on your keyboard because whatever you push will be logged by the Secret Service. So anybody who has that, thinks that things are lost. Anyways, the reason I called is you're talking about the Oz, a movie film about what I would say a real situation, so to speak. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm talking about The Wizard of Oz, the movie from 1930, The Wizard of Oz.
All right. I've been looking at the First Amendment and the right to film federal property from public like sidewalks and things like that. So I printed a memo which I thought was related to it, but it turns out it's related to the Department of Homeland Security working in conjunction with Hollywood to promote their agenda. And it's again, we're working in this dimension like you're talking about with our minds and everything. You bring something up, but there's really some crazy stuff that's going on, how everything's really coming together here. I don't know. I just wanted to shoot that in there. So
yeah, I got another call. I'll let him in. Everybody's on. 4996. You out there too, caller?
How you doing, sir?
Yeah.
In the words of the Tin Man, Tahiti. And then, since you didn't want to sing, I'll sing it. You in the game, you know what I'm saying? You can't win. And you can't get out.
You can't get out of the game.
They did sing that song in the Wiz. Now that was in the Wiz. You can't win.
That was in the Wiz.
You
can't win. You can't break even. And you can't get out the game.
And you can't get out of the game. Now you can't win and you can't get out of the game.
Exactly. And guess what? I'm playing and I'm all in. And I'll tell you what, I plan on winning. And if I feel like getting up out of the game, that's what I'm going to do. Because I ain't going to go with what they telling me I can't do. You see what I'm saying? That's all hey.
You got to carry that attitude with you every day, every step. You are 100% correct.
Remember now that there's no place like home.
And home, and you know what? Home is where your hat hangs. And
I know there's no place like home. There's no place like home.
There's another song where Daddy left us and he ain't did nothing but hung his hat on a couple of racks. You know what I'm saying? It's all crazy. They know, you can make home anywhere. You can make home anywhere. Michael Jackson married Elvis Presley's daughter. You see what I mean? And he bought all of his shit from the little old record company. Listen,
Sony.
When you get what belongs to you, like I say, you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. So when they come, you roll out a red carpet, you welcome their motherfucking ass, and then you do what you got to do to keep whatever it is that you just built. You see what I'm saying? And if you built it for nothing, and you put it down on paperwork. You did some shit for nothing.
Well, all you got to really do, look at Bill Cosby. Now remember, he was their golden boy. He had more money, almost more money than God. He could walk on water. And then he crossed somebody, and all of a sudden, I mean, we don't know. Let's for the sake of this conversation say everything they say about him is true. That he drugged them women and raped them. Let's say that. But where did he get them guns from?
He ain't no doctor.
Exactly. Exactly.
So if it's true, somebody gave him, and he didn't get that street drug. He didn't get that street quality stuff. He had some good stuff. So where did he get that from? If we are led to believe, because we know. And the reality is, a nigga with money don't need no drugs. A nigga with money don't need no drugs to get no pussy. Believe that. A nigga with money does not need a drug to get no pussy, and he had plenty of money, and believe that. And ugly motherfucker, money will make look real good to a woman. Well, he had so much money that they wouldn't let him buy CBS. They said, "Oh no." He said, "I want to buy CBS." They said, "Oh no, oh no, oh no." No, and after that, he went on the downspin. After he tried to buy CBS, he came on TV and talked about black folks and told us we need to be accountable and all that stuff. And they loved him. Soon as he tried to buy CBS, look at him today. I almost said nigga. Could barely walk. Where did he tell a lie where black folks need to be accountable? Where did he tell a lie where black folks need to be accountable? Gentrification is not only for white folks. It's not only for white folks. If you want your neighborhood to look good, you kick them sorry ass niggas about your hood too. And white folks ain't the only motherfuckers that can go into a place and say, "Well, this is a land of growth." I'm observing the dirt, the shit will grow in it. I'm observing the area. Black folks can do the same thing in the hood and say, "You sorry ass niggas that are in here tearing this shit up need to get the hell up out of here so we can do something with it." Everybody can't go to Africa. Everybody ain't welcome. I'm gonna tell you that. We need to. I ain't mad at you. I'm saying if you train me, if you give me opportunities that are meaningful. If again, it starts with the last part of the movie. There's no place like home. If you make home that environment, then all the rest of those things will fall into place. You won't have what you just said. These sorry people running around destroying the community because home will mean something to it. You can teach them, and they're gonna do what they do. It's just like the prodigal son. He was given everything. You know what I'm saying? But it was a happy time when he brought his ass back to the crib. They laid it out for him when he got back. But he had it all. You know what I'm saying? Wait a minute. There's no place like home. He knew that. He knew that. After he was doing all the things he did, what did he do? He knew there was no place like home. He went home. It's only certain folks that understand and need to understand that there's no place like home. It's not the homeowner. It's those that lead the home and know damn well they ain't got nothing to do with that outside ass shit that they doing. When you come back, bro, we still got something for you, but you can't act like you act when you took your ass away from his home. You see what I'm saying? He knew that. He knew that, brother. He knew that when he came back. That's what I'm saying. You know that. You know that. If I go to my mama's house, I know I got to walk the line or don't go back there. I can't go back there half-stepping. When I go back home, I better realize where I am, or she gonna tell me. I tell my family the same thing when they show up at my house. Look here, hold up. I'm gonna let you slide this time, but I'm telling you right now, next time you leave that stuff outside, or else I will put you out. Cause this is my home. Now, and you built it. It's yours. It's private. It's personal. That's the part. You can put anything in there you want. That is more powerful. We don't understand that. They can come knock on the door and you can tell them, Yeah. No, you want to come here and check. No, you don't. I said no for a reason. A motherfucker gonna tell me you want to check the trees in my backyard. I said, you better go get a note. You better go get a letter. You better go have somebody write you some shit to tell you that you can proceed past this point. Because right now, me and you talking.
So that's right.
Me and you talking. And I'm telling you, get your ass up and away from here. And all he did was disappear. All he did was disappear. Now,
but see, if you don't know that, and they come and get you, you gonna tell them you gonna say, come on in, and then they gonna say, well, you let me in, and everything that's in public view, they can do what they want. Well, you let me in. No, I didn't. You kicked the door down. I'm under duress. I'm just like them cops that got shot in Dallas. Now, you know, if that had been a brother, that brother would have came out of there in handcuffs.
That's why I ain't in jail right now and still drive the bus. Because the same motherfucking police try to come in here and do the same shit. Talking about they looking for somebody else and everything they looking for belong to me. And I said, you can't come in here looking for shit that belong to me, motherfucker, without dealing with me. So you got to ask me if I'm going to give it to you. And I wasn't telling you it was yours. So we had to do at the front door. And I'm still doing what I do. And you know what? I know this is live. I know there's folks listening. And y'all just don't understand that maybe I think faster than I speak. Hey, but understand that I know exactly what I want to say to you, player. I'm kicking my heels.
You just gotta slow your brain down. You gotta slow down. And you gotta be prepared. I mean, when you riding on the bus, you kind of know the route and you know what time of the day the riffraff, if it's gonna be in it, you know what time. So you kind of mentally prepare, you know, because that assists you in your psychological. Because that was my other thing, you know, how do we cure our community without the paperwork? In order for them to get to the paperwork, they got to know they need it. If all they listening to is the talking head, you ain't gonna be able to convince them, and they'll put it right in front of your face. I'm telling you, I did not see that part where at the beginning when he talked about Osiris and when the guy who was the wizard saw Dorothy running away from home with the dog, and the first thing he talks about is Isis and Osiris and Egypt and Cleopatra. And until I went back on the internet and pulled it up, I literally went back and pulled it up so I could see it.
And those are the Greek names for them. You know what I mean? Those are the Greek names. And we don't. You tell that to black people, and they'll go nuts. You tell them that the original deity was Isis and Osiris, and all that resurrection stuff came from there. They be ready to string you up. They'll be ready to take you out and string you up. Now, and it's right at the beginning of the movie. They put it right in the movie, and he tells you right on his board. He belongs to the past, the present, and the future queens and kings of England. Now, that's who he gets his power from. So what does that say? How does he know about the future? The future is right on the outside. He's telling you. You hear me? You can't buy a piece of silver without Elizabeth on it. I don't care what's on the back, because she's the queen and she took it from the real one. I'm gonna let you know that now. And like Osiris.
In order for you to get your birth certificate back, you got to do some things. In order for you to, you got to understand the UCC. And I don't know no class. I ain't never had no class in public school on the UCC.
Tell you that. You can't even get all your paperwork, and you still go by Elmer Lee. You still go by Tyrone Davis, and you still go by whatever your last name is. Those are their names. So you still up under them, and they still can collect. They can collect from you.
Well, you already said it. You sang the song. You can't get out of the game, and you can't win. Michael Jackson done told you can't win.
Yeah.
You can't win. And you was in the movie theater. You can't win.
You can't break even. Don't be scared to sing it, man. Sing it.
There you go. You was in the movie theater bumping to Michael Jackson. Said, "Boy, what a great movie! That wins. I'm gonna go back and see it again."
And you gonna show it to your kids.
Right. You're gonna go buy the DVD so your kids can see it. You're gonna make sure you got some copies, y'all. This is a classic. Yeah, it's sick, all right.
A classic, yeah.
Yes, Lord. First time somebody told me that snow in the Wizard of Oz represented cocaine, I dang near fell out of the chair. Like, what?
Yeah. So you won't see they stealing from you.
You ain't never heard that. If you want to ride, don't ride the white pony. They've been saying it for a long time. If you want to ride, don't ride the white horse. You know what I'm saying?
Ride the white horse. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that song.
I remember that song.
Yep. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Oh, it's been on for a long time, yo. Yeah, man, I like to mess with your Wednesdays, man. And look, there was nothing that could be added to your show, player. You made this. This was the bomb today, and you made it happen all by yourself.
I just ran it. I'm gonna tell you, I ain't that clever. I done told y'all, but it's the top of the hour, everybody. I love y'all. Until next Wednesday, everybody, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, man.